Hi there. I was a Jehovah's Witness for 37 years. I worked at their Watchtower branch office in London, and I was a full-time minister, an elder, very busy, very involved. But I left, and I want to share with you just what it is Jehovah's Witnesses won't tell you when they call at your home. Number one, capture. Jehovah's Witnesses are there to recruit you. They want you to join them. That may not come as any surprise, but it's how they do it that, to my mind, is disingenuous, dangerous in fact. They present an illusion. They use propaganda. They create a sense of us and them, that they are special, different, set apart from the world, a unique organization. I knew some of the writers of their publications, the authors, and one of them even admitted to me that the articles that are submitted are carefully crafted, heavily edited, watchtowerized was the expression he used, for maximum impact. Well, that's propaganda, and the more that you get involved with Jehovah's Witnesses, the more you can easily succumb to that disinformation or misinformation. It's very easy to become emotionally attached to them through this program of capture that involves propaganda and also involves love. When you are a new recruit, you are a minor celebrity, and people will rally around you. They'll offer you all sorts of help, just as long as you remain part of their setup. And ultimately, it leads you into a difficult position whereby if you do leave, then you have a lot to lose. And so that leads to the second area, which is control. The Watchtower controls its members. How? Well, again, let's go back to information. There's a lot of skeletons in the closet, but the average Jehovah's Witness doesn't know because they're forbidden to find out. They're told, don't go on the internet to research Jehovah's Witnesses. Only go to the official website. Everything has been sanitized and carefully filtered, so that the information that Jehovah's Witnesses have on their history is revisionist, and the editor's knife has excised a lot of damaging information that if Jehovah's Witnesses knew, well, it would hopefully it would wake them up to their misapprehension. So control is very important for the Watchtower, and it seeps into everything really. You are controlled in your work, the kind of work you can have, your politics. Well, in fact, you're not allowed really to have any political position. Your choices of entertainment, how you choose to use your leisure time, your friends. Well, in fact, your friends are just Jehovah's Witnesses when you become one. They even go as far as to legislate what you can do in your bedroom with your partner, and it's invasive and unnecessary, and it's certainly not biblical if you're using that as your benchmark. So that's control. The third area is fear. Many Jehovah's Witnesses suffer with anxiety and depression. Many of them are afraid. They may not admit that. it may be unconscious. Um, but the fear is that if they don't live up to the expectation, the demands that are put upon them, then they will not be ready when Jesus comes at Armageddon. This Armageddon event is feared, the end of the world. Jehovah's Witnesses, well, the Watchtower has prophesied on numerous occasions regarding the end of the world, and of course many of those have failed. They're very embarrassing. The average witness doesn't know about that, but always on the mind of a witness is, will I be ready? Will I get through Armageddon? Will I be saved? They're afraid. And many of the conversations I had with witnesses were about their expectations at the end, and many of them felt, oh, they just wouldn't make it, that they weren't living up to what they considered to be God's standards, but in fact are Watchtower, what is Watchtower dogma. So there's fear, and there's fear of elders, fear of the hierarchy, and there is a hierarchy. Elders fear their overlords, and it all it follows a chain of command right to the top, and the top is that governing body, they call it, a governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's made up of a handful of men, and really they hold all the power and authority. They are judge, jury, and executioner, and what they say goes. I remember somebody at the headquarters used to say to me, used to quote, when the faithful slave or when the organization says jump, then your response should be how high. So that's the mentality. Guilt is the next area. Many Jehovah's Witnesses feel guilty about not doing enough. Again, all those pressures, all those demands, the burden of being a Jehovah's Witness. There's such a lot expected of them. One of the biggest demands is preaching, is knocking at people's doors and facing abuse and unpleasantness. So if you do meet with them, do be nice for a change. That would be good. Well, they have to do that, and if they don't, they're labelled as irregular is one label, or inactive is another label, or weak, spiritually weak. Powerful labels embedded with a lot of meaning, a lot of loaded language, which only makes them feel guilty and unworthy. There's a big issue with self-esteem and self-worth amongst Jehovah's Witnesses. And finally, they won't tell you about the authority. They'll say that the Bible is their final authority, but it isn't. Do you know, it really took my work, my experience at that that branch office in London, to appreciate that the authority is bound up in this notion of a governing body over the entire organization. And they believe there is a scriptural precedent for this, but there isn't. It's not biblical. When you look into it, you discover in the first century amongst Christians there was no such thing as a governing body that is a ruling, a magisterium. That's not the case. So they have their own pope, if you like. It's a corporate thing, a corporate pope made up of these men. Some of them are quite pleasant. I've met some of them. And I suppose that's where you have to question, is it always malevolent? Is it always motivated by evil? Or is it in fact people who have been misled and are misleading, who are victims of victims of victims. Um, that's why it's so important to look into the history and see how it all started. Find out those skeletons in the closet and discover that this organization presents itself as being God's mouthpiece on earth. That's what they call themselves, the voice of God. They even call themselves the Mother organization. I mean, it's all a bit Orwellian, and it's often said that Jehovah's Witnesses are somewhat like the Wizard of Oz. You remember at the end when the little dog pulls back the curtain and there's this old guy um, pulling levers and shouting down a microphone. And that's what I discovered. I kept peeling back the curtain, if you like, the mystery. And finally you get to the point when you see, no, it's just a plain old religion, and not a very good one. A toxic religion. Um, if you are looking for the truth, then just a final word, have a look at John chapter 14, verse 6. Thanks very much for your time, and yeah, I hope this has been of help to you. Bye bye.